Chapter 1629. Yes, I won't always be so weak and drag the boss down forever. Then Shoo Shoo shouldn't drag the boss down. Shoo Shoo also has to go home to learn. The little kids all looked at Xiao Bao with tears in their eyes. Their little bodies kept shaking. Obviously, they were very sad, but this time they stubbornly didn't cry. Xiao Bao said, "Idiot, you can come here to see me at any time. I can also come to see you on Bixia." Hearing this, the little guys immediately smiled through tears. "Boss, can we still come to see you?" Xiao Bao nodded. "Boss, then we'll go first. You must wait for us to come back. Little brother, Yang Yang will miss you." Xiao Bao nodded expressionlessly and watched them leave. Xiao Bao watched as the few reluctant children boarded their own spaceship, looking back every few steps. Xiao Bao immediately hugged Mu Yang happily and buried her little head in his neck. That was great. Finally, no one would disturb him and his mother alone. Xiao Bao said that it was not easy to reunite with his mother. He didn't want to waste time on other people. Miss Jun, young Master Junlan Feng walked before Mu Yang and Xiao Bao, and bowed deeply. "Your Grace towards His Highness and the Lan royal family, we are deeply grateful, and will never forget it. If there is a chance in the future, I will repay you well." Lan Feng didn't give a substantial thank you, but gave such a promise. But the value of this promise was far more than any spiritual weapon or elixir. Because this was tantamount to saying that the entire Lan royal family owed Mu Yang and Xiao Bao a huge favor. This was something that ordinary people couldn't even beg for. However, Xiao Bao and Mu Yang didn't care about this, so they didn't take Lan Feng's promise to heart. "By the way, why didn't I see Hall Master Li?" Mu Yang suddenly asked. Lan Feng frowned. After that day, Hall Master Li left a message saying that he had something to deal with, and then he disappeared. Then he sneered. A mere Hall Master of the derived moon sect thought that he could show off by giving him a little face. "Oh, don't worry. When I go back, I will definitely settle the score with them." In an inn in Tianluo City, Liu Ruoxuan pushed a male cultivator who had become a mummy onto the bed and slowly put on his clothes. Her face was beaten into a pig's head, and her wrists were broken. But now, it was as good as new. Liu Ruoxuan looked at the beautiful woman in the mirror and sneered. Her eyes were filled with pride. The heavens were indeed looking out for her. No matter how that slut Jun Muyan oppresses her, she can always rise from the ashes. And now, she's in the dark, while Muyan's in the light. It's time for her to see Jun Muyan and her bastard die without a burial ground. After absorbing the essence of more than 10 practitioners, her cultivation had already stepped into the nascent soul stage. Furthermore, these few days, she had even used the male cultivator's essence to refine 1,000 charm GU. In Mai Xin's memories, this 1,000 charm GU was an extremely powerful thing. Even a nascent soul cultivator would not be able to withstand its power. Once 1,000 charm GU invaded one's body, they would burn with lust, unable to control themselves. Even in public, she couldn't wait to take off her clothes and throw herself into a man's arms. The humiliation and trampling that she had suffered were all brought to her by Jun Muyan. Chapter 1630. Suddenly, a paper crane flew in from the window. Liu Ruoxuan took it and opened it. She was surprised at first, then laughed out loud. Jun Muyan, I was thinking how to sneak into the Starry School to deal with you. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me. Ha ha ha, then I'll let you embarrass yourself on the busiest street of Tianluo City. You'll never be able to see anyone again." Liu Ruoxuan looked at herself in the mirror and smiled sinisterly. She immediately put on her veil and left the inn. She had seduced countless male cultivators in Tianluo City during this period of time. Some male cultivators were sucked dry of their essence and turned into corpses. There were also male cultivators who were charmed by her and worked for her. Liu Ruoxuan's current charm was far from what the young and inexperienced Liu Ruoxuan could compare with. After being seduced by her, the male cultivators would fall head over heels and gradually lose their sanity. In the end, they would be completely controlled by her and become her puppet. The paper crane just now was sent to her by the puppet. It was the news of Jun Muyan's group being found in Tianluo City. Soon, Liu Ruoxuan found Jun Muyan on the busiest street of Qianluo City. She suddenly held her breath and hid herself on the second floor of a hotel. She stared coldly at the girl who was surrounded by the crowd. Jun Muyan, today, I'll make sure you never recover. Ever since Muyan found out that Xiaobao had been trapped in the Fuxi secret realm for so long, her heart ached terribly. So after the Jasper Forest gathering, she brought Xiaobao to go shopping. She wanted to bring him to taste delicious spirit food, dress him up in beautiful clothes, and give him the best in the world. However, every time Muyan takes a fancy to something and wants to buy it, someone will definitely rush out from the side. Xiaobao, do you like this? Buy. I'll buy it all for you. Aya, fourth senior sister, get out of the way. This time, it's my turn as seventh martial uncle to buy it for my little martial nephew. Even the steady eldest martial brother, the wooden Qin Ju, and the deep and unfathomable Chu Moli, after strolling for an hour on the street, were all filled with cosmos sacks, all of which were gifts for Xiaobao. This time, Su Zi also came with her. He was more or less hostile and jealous of those who were close to Mu Yang. However, after seeing Xiaobao's small and exquisite face, which is 70 to 80% similar to Muyan's, he can't be jealous at all. On the contrary, she was captivated by his cold and adorable appearance. Along the way, he was the one who bought the most gifts for Xiaobao. The people of the Xiaoyaro sect, including Su Zi, had just placed bets on the Tri-Academy tournament a while ago. Although they lost money because the Xiaoyaro team didn't win the championship, they still made a huge profit overall. Therefore, everyone was very rich now. He didn't feel any heartache when he bought things. In the beginning, Muyan would still try to stop him. She also really wants to spend crystals for her baby, okay? But when he saw how happy his fellow apprentices were, he let them be. Lung Yumor hung a small jade pendant on Xiaobao's waist and said with a smile, Xiaobao, this is for you. Fourth martial uncle will hang it for you. Xiaobao nodded expressionlessly and said in a childish voice, thank you, fourth martial uncle. Chapter 1631. Xiaobao's body stiffened. He pushed Lung Yumor away and scolded, fourth martial uncle, men and women should not touch each other, you can't do this. As soon as these words came out, everyone present burst into laughter. Even Bai Xie couldn't help but jump out and laugh. You little brat, you haven't even graduated from kindergarten at my place. Do you know that men and women should not touch each other? Ha 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 ha, this is too funny. Xiaobao squinted his eyes and grabbed Bai Xie and stabbed him into the ground. No one knew how much strength he used, but Bai Xie was stabbed into the ground and couldn't come out for a while. Xiaobao and the rest continued to walk forward, leaving Bai Xie shaking the sword and shouting, damn it, you're angry because I said it right, you can't do this. Bridge is full of gunny sacks, I was wrong okay? Little master, wait for me. Of course, only Xiaobao and Mu Yang could hear it. Behind the window on the second floor, Liu Ruoxuan carefully concealed her presence. She didn't even let her gaze fall on Mu Yang to avoid being noticed. When she saw Xiao Nao and the others walking towards her, she sneered and silently sent out the 1,000 charm GU in her hand. And this time, she didn't just send out 1,000 charm GU, but 3. In the past, when she dealt with Mu Yang, she always succeeded at the beginning, but failed at the end. The root cause was that she was too careless with her rival in love. But this time, she won't be careless. Seeing the GU flying towards Mu Yang silently and slowly landing on her shoulder, Liu Ruoxuan couldn't help but tremble with excitement. Very soon, she could see Mu Yang tearing off her clothes and pouncing on the man hungrily. And all of this is happening in front of her son. She would like to see how Mu Yang is going to behave in the future. Ha ha ha, bang. A light sound came from behind. Bai Xie had unknowingly broken free from the stone floor and pounced towards Xiaobao. Bastard master, you really abandoned me. You heartless brat, have you forgotten who saved you in the Fuxi secret realm? In order to save you, I almost lost my life. Balabala. Xiaobao reached out and grabbed the Bixie sword. He said coldly, I'll throw you away if you make any more noise. As he spoke, he waved his hand lightly as if he was about to throw it away. Ding, there was a soft sound. Hey? Bai Xie asked curiously, I feel like I just slapped something away. Was it an illusion? Liu Ruoxuan stood by the window and watched as the Jiyu worm was about to land on Mu Yang's body. However, she could only watch as the 1,000-charm Jiyu was slapped away by the evil warding sword and was trampled to death on the ground. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth. How could this be? How could Jun Muyan's luck be so good? But fortunately, she still had the second and third Jiyu worms. On the street below, Little Bao frowned and said, "What is it?" "I don't know. Maybe it was a flying insect, or maybe it was a rock. Could it be someone's booger? Little master, you must help me clean up." Xiao Bao frowned and flung the sword away. Liu Ruoxuan watched helplessly as the 1,000-charm Jiyu that she had painstakingly refined was cut in half by the Bixia sword. She almost fainted from anger. How could this be? How could this be? Chapter 1632. She doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe that she can't kill Muyan. Liu Ruoxuan's eyes are red. She activates the malevolent energy in her body and injects it into the last 1,000-charm Jiyu. The 1,000-charm Jiyu in the air immediately turns into a ray of light and shoots towards Muyan. She doesn't care if her position is exposed, she only wants to kill Muyan immediately. On the street, Bai Xie is playing with Xiao Bao. Suddenly, he feels a cold and frightening malevolent energy in the air. His voice changes. "Little master, there's a demon." Xiao Bao doesn't even think, he grabs the hilt of Bai Xie and lightly swings it in the air. With a clink, something was sent flying by the Bixia sword again. The body of the sword trembled and emitted a buzzing sound. A wisp of gloomy and cold temperature drifted in the air. Bai Xie is confused. "Little master, I didn't even feel where the malevolent energy came from. How did you send it flying? What was that thing that flew over?" Xiao Bao is expressionless, but he holds Muyan's hand tightly. "I don't know." Intuition. He doesn't know what it is, he doesn't know where it came from. It's just that his intuition is a threat to his mother, so he instinctively retaliated. "Bai Xie, I give up." "Little master, are you sure you are not the son of heaven? This luck is a little too heaven-defying." But Muyan also feels something is wrong, especially the malevolent energy in the air. She is familiar with it. "Xiao Bao, what's wrong?" Xiao Bao is about to speak, but a scream comes from upstairs. Then, on the second floor of the restaurant next door, a veiled woman suddenly tore off her clothes and pounced on the man next to her. Without saying a word, she straddled him and let out moans that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. Muyan quickly covers Xiao Bao's eyes. Bai Xie screams, "What the hell, is this ancient or modern? There's actually such a strong woman, such an eyesore." Xiao Bao obediently nestles in Muyan's arms. He doesn't look, but frowns. "Mother, I think this person wants to harm you." He actually didn't see what attacked his mother, nor did he see where it came from. But his instinct tells him that this person wants to harm his mother. Mu Yang frowned, a stern look flashing through her eyes. "Little junior sister, stay here and look after Xiao Bao. We'll go capture them for you." "Yes, I can't let my good nephew see such a dirty scene." "Little missy, don't worry. If anyone wants to harm you, we won't let them off." At first, Mu Yang wanted to go and catch them herself, but when she recalled the scene above and looked at Xiao Bao in her arms, she nodded. The people of the Xiaoyaro school, including Su Zi, jumped into the restaurant. Even the evil warding sword flew up to join in the fun. Just as they rushed to the second floor, they saw a naked woman desperately clinging to a male cultivator. She kept raising her head and moaning. The people in the restaurant all pointed at this scene, and their eyes were filled with contempt and disdain for this woman. Leng Yumor sneered, "It seems like he schemed against our junior sister and suffered the consequences of his own actions." Before she could finish her sentence, she had already leaped into the air and swung her long saber at the woman. Chapter 1633. But in the end, her chest was still cut, and blood immediately gushes out. Ling Yusheng's movements are also very fast. The rope in his hand quickly shoots out, and in the blink of an eye, the naked woman is firmly tied up. Leng Yumor strides forward. "I'd like to see which blind thing dares to harm our junior sister." "Hey, Isn't this the slut who insisted on saying that junior sister killed the child on Tai Plaza that day? She still hasn't given up. This person is sick, right? We've never seen each other, and junior sister shouldn't know her. Why does she insist on pestering junior sister? Chu Moli stares at Liu Ruoxuan's face, and suddenly sneers, not necessarily. Perhaps, she's our old acquaintance. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator can't resist the 1,000 charm goose power. Liu Ruoxuan used 3,000 charm GU, thinking that no matter what, she would make a fool of Muyan in front of everyone. She didn't expect that child to casually wave his sword and kill 2 of her 1,000 charm GU. The final 1,000 charm GU directly flew back to her body, allowing her to do it in front of everyone, but 1,000 charm GU was raised by her, and Lung Yumo's sword made her mind clear. Thinking about everything that just happened, she almost grinds her teeth in hatred. In the past, her luck was always excellent. But today, she doesn't know what's going on, but it's like she's suddenly been pestered by the god of misfortune. No, that's not right. It should be said that ever since that child, ever since Muyan's son appeared, it's like she's met her nemesis. All her good luck has turned into bad luck. In the past, although she couldn't succeed in scheming against Muyan, she could at least take the initiative a few times. But ever since that child appeared, she's simply been unlucky to the extreme. How could this be? What kind of person is Muyan's son? Young lady, who exactly are you? Why are you scheming against little sister? Su Zi crouches down, looking at the naked and distressed Liu Ruoxuan. He says in a gentle tone, "Is there some misunderstanding in between?" The youth's voice is soft and clear, warm and gentle. Coupled with his clear eyes and the mole at the corner of his eyes, it makes people unconsciously feel close and trustworthy. Liu Ruoxuan said absent-mindedly, "My name is Liu." Before she could finish speaking, she suddenly came to her senses and stared at the youth in front of her in disbelief. His eyes were filled with intense fear, anger, and hatred. She remembers now. No wonder she felt that this youngster looked familiar when he first appeared by Muyan's side. She had a pair of gentle and limpid eyes, and there was a mole under the corner of her eye. He was the one who had fed her poison in the Danyang mountain range, forcing her to sign a soul contract with Mai Xin. Liu Ruoxuan glared at the person in front of her. Her face was distorted and her eyes were bursting with intense hatred. Her mind repeatedly replayed the pain of her body being torn apart after the poison entered her stomach, as well as the despair of watching death come upon her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have signed a soul contract with Mai Xin and become a promiscuous woman. She also wouldn't have nearly lost her body to Mai Xin. She recalled what Su Zi had said before he left. "Although I don't know where you came from, I actually happened to hear you cursing Big Sister. How can I let you live?" Chapter 1634. Little Missy. It turns out that the little sister he was talking about is Jun Muyan. Su Zi looked at the malevolent expression on his face, and the smile on his face suddenly became even gentler and gentler. He turned to look at Chu Moli and said, "Senior Chu, as expected, he knows little sister, and he seems to know me as well. Maybe one of our enemies changed their appearance." Lung Yumo was eager to give it a try. "Why don't we bring them back and interrogate them? I don't believe that I can't dig out her true identity." Chu Moli had a gentle and bashful smile on his face. However, he shook his head slightly and said, "Although I also have a few torturous punishments that I really want to put into practice on her, I can't do anything about it. But I don't know why, but I have a feeling that letting this woman live would be a bigger problem. So, second senior brother, go kill her." When Qin Ju heard this, he immediately nodded without hesitation and strode towards Liu Ruoxuan. Liu Ruoxuan did not panic when she was tied up. She knew that these people would not easily kill her in order to find out her true identity. As long as she was alive, she could think of a way to escape. Who would have thought that Chu Moli's way of doing things was completely illogical? Seeing Qin Ju approaching step by step with a strong killing intent bursting out from her eyes, Liu Ruoxuan finally panicked. Don't you want to know my true identity? Jun Muyan? Have Jun Muyan come see me. She won't kill me so easily. I want to see Muyan." Chu Moli chuckled lightly and said unhurriedly, There's no need to trouble little junior martial sister with this kind of matter. Second senior brother, attack. Qin Ju ruthlessly punched Liu Ruoxuan in the face with a loud bang. Liu Ruoxuan vaguely heard a cracking sound. It was the sound of her nose and cheekbones breaking. One of her eyes almost popped out of its socket. She let out a blood-curdling scream, and her whole body was sent flying. She couldn't get up for a long time, and at this time, Wine Qin's second punch had already arrived. If she was hit a second time, her brain would definitely burst and she would die. Liu Ruoxuan didn't care about anything else and suddenly let out a sharp scream. The next moment, she saw the figures of several male cultivators rushing in from the window, blocking her way. The faces of these male cultivators were muddle-headed, as if they had completely lost their minds. When Qin Ju's fist arrived before him, he did not even bother to dodge. With just a single punch, he vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. However, Liu Ruoxuan had already jumped out of the window in the time it took for her to stop him. Lung Yumo sneered, "Want to run? No way." After saying that, he took the lead and chased after them. Yun Ruohan, Ling Yusheng, and Luo Yu didn't stay idle either. Chu Moli, who remained where he was, frowned slightly. This woman is indeed somewhat strange. There seems to be a power in this world that is preventing us from killing her. Sure enough, 2 hours later, Yun Ruohan and the others returned in low spirits. After listening to their narration, Mu Yang also looks pensive. Moreover, speaking of luck that could not be killed no matter what, another person suddenly appeared in her mind. Liu Ruoxuan. Back then, Liu Ruoxuan was also like this, no matter how much he beat her down. However, there would always be someone who would save her. At the very least, she would not die. But if the ghost lingered around and couldn't be gotten rid of no matter what, wouldn't it be annoying? Heh, I know what that woman is. Seven Brilliance's disdainful voice suddenly rang in his ears. Chapter 1635. Bah. What kind of heaven's favored child is she? Qi Huang sneers, it's just a medicinal GU left behind by those shameless humans in ancient times. Medicinal GU? What's that? Mu Yang sinks her divine sense into the Tian Mo Qin's space. She sees Qi Huang frowning tightly, his eyes filled with disgust and hatred. What else could it be? It's just trash created by you greedy and selfish humans in order to satisfy your own selfish desires. It can enhance your own strength by robbing the luck of other creatures between heaven and earth. Such a medicinal GU, once it matures, is both a demon and a devil, a monster that simply cannot be tolerated in the 3 realms and the 6 paths. It will be a disaster and catastrophe for all creatures, but you humans still rush to it. Mu Yang gently pats his head. Those stupid humans have already suffered the consequences of their own evil deeds. They can't be any more dead, but our great Qi Huang is still alive and well, and will live even better in the future. So, don't deviate from the topic, let's go back to medicinal GU. According to what you said, this Liu Ruoxuan is a medicinal GU that can rob other people's luck. Doesn't that mean we can't do anything to her? Qi Huang stares at her blankly for a long time before he lowers his eyes, the corners of his mouth pulling up into a shallow smile. When he speaks again, his voice is especially smug as he hums a few times, why not? Those stupid humans in ancient times said that the medicinal GU they created is the heaven's favored child. Bah, it's a demonic monster. Usually, it looks like it's baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, but when it encounters a child of heaven's chosen with great luck, it can only die miserably. Child of heaven's chosen? Mu Yang blinks, are you talking about me? It seems that every time Liu Ruoxuan encountered her, she would end up miserably, without the glory of a heaven's favored child. Who knew that Qi Huang would roll his eyes? Are you dreaming? I'm talking about your son, the immortal physique, born at the right time, gathering the essence of heaven and earth, containing the spiritual wisdom of all living things. He is the true child of heaven's chosen. Even the future fate of the 3 realms may be rewritten by him. And you, at most, you've stayed with the child of heaven's chosen for a long time, basking in some light, that's all. Mu Yang is despised by her own artifact spirit, but she doesn't feel the slightest bit ashamed or annoyed. Instead, she's happy. She hugs Xiao Bao and kisses him several times as soon as she gets out of the space. Xiao Bao, you're really Nyangqin's most beloved baby. Xiao Bao's little face flushed from the kiss. He hugged Mu Yang's neck. He was both shy and happy. His big, watery blue eyes carried a bit of doubt. Why did Nyangqin suddenly kiss him? She even called him her most beloved baby in front of so many people. She felt a little shy and happy at the same time. Liu Ruoxuan had been chased by Yun Ruohan and the others, and her killing intent and spiritual energy were almost depleted. She was in a sorry state, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake them off. Moreover, Liu Ruoxuan couldn't understand. She was obviously at the peak of the Gold Core realm. However, when facing the Xiaoyaro sect's cultivators of the Enidia stage, they couldn't do anything. Many times, he had narrowly escaped death and almost lost his life under their hands. In the end, Liu Ruoxuan thought of Li Zuping and the chief of the Starry School, Di Yudao. These two people obviously have a grudge with Jun Muyan. Since she can't deal with Jun Muyan now, she can only rely on the strength of others. Thinking of this, Liu Ruoxuan escaped into the school of the Emperor Star without hesitation. Chapter 1636. The only person she could find now was Di Yudao. Liu Ruoxuan's current concealment ability was extremely good. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the 5 great clans' patriarchs to not notice her tracking. Therefore, she quickly sneaked into Di Yudao's cave residence. At the moment, Di Yudao was talking to a man in black. Master, there are more and more people searching the Alcade branch. Although it's hidden, it can't be hidden anymore. Di Yudao's eyes were bloodshot, and his face was ferocious. I promised those bastards from the Alcade branch so many benefits to move out of that corner, but they didn't want to. Master, what should we do now? If this is exposed, Chief Meng and the others will not let it go. Di Yudao gritted his teeth. Everyone is watching the Alcade branch. It's too late to stop them. Also, the Swordmaster asked us to look after is lost. This can't be hidden for long. Damn it, do the heavens really want me dead? Right. He suddenly thought of something and bit his nails nervously. How's the experiment going? I've gotten so many test subjects from the school for you. Is there still no progress? This. The man in black looked troubled and scared. Master, we've found a way. But those test subjects are too weak. They can't even fuse before they explode. Useless. Useless. You're all useless. Di Yudao kicked the man in black hard. Then, his expression became more and more terrified. No, I can't do this. I can't die like this. I have to complete the experiment so that Master won't punish me for losing the sword. He might even let me go to the Purple Cloud Realm. Ha, ha ha. By then, what's the secret of the Alcade branch? What's the Starry School? Thinking of this, Di Yudao immediately rushed to an oil lamp behind him. He grabbed the oil lamp and turned it left and right. Soon, the stone wall behind the house cracked and a tunnel appeared in front of him. Liu Ruoxuan waited for Di Yudao and the man in black to enter the tunnel before jumping in through the window and following them. Di Yudao and the black-robed man's speed was very fast. When Liu Ruoxuan entered the passage, the two of them had already disappeared. She could only feel her way forward, and soon, she saw many stone rooms. There were several stone beds in each of the stone rooms, on which lay monsters that were beyond recognition. Some of these monsters had a face full of scales, some had a tongue as long as a lizard's, and some had 7 or 8 legs. All of them struggled and howled on the stone bed. Liu Ruoxuan was shocked by the scene in front of her because the cries of these monsters and their expressions were too miserable and painful. It was as if they were experiencing the most miserable purgatory in the world. Suddenly, the scaly monster closest to her suddenly widened its eyes, its body twitching violently. Then, with a loud bang, his entire body exploded. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Even Liu Ruoxuan's body was splashed with several pieces of flesh. From the monster's broken body, a black ball of light rushed out and flew straight towards Liu Ruoxuan. Chapter 1637. However, after taking 2 steps, several men in black rushed out and pressed him to the ground. Diu Dao strode out of one of the stone rooms and looked coldly at Liu Ruoxuan on the ground. "What are you doing? You didn't notice that someone broke in?" The men in black trembled and knelt on the ground. Diu Dao sneered. "Forget it. Let's just take it as one more experiment subject. Put the flood dragon beast soul that just flew out into her body." "Yes, master." Hearing this, Liu Ruoxuan immediately thought of the monster that had just exploded and screamed in fear. "No, no, no, no. I don't want to become that kind of monster. I don't want to die. Dean Zhai, listen to me. I know where to find a carrier that can bear the flood dragon beast soul. Yes, I know how to achieve the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan." Just at the moment of life and death, Liu Ruoxuan suddenly pulled out a memory from Mai Xin's memory. She immediately grasped at the life-saving straw. Diu Dao's expression changed greatly. "How do you know about the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan?" In the cultivation continent, there was a kind of 9th-rank spirit beast called Chang Jiao. This kind of spirit beast had a very big characteristic, which was its longevity. All Chang Jiao had a lifespan that was 100 times longer than ordinary people. Even a high-level practitioner who had reached the crossing calamity stage could not compare with the Chang Jiao's lifespan. The so-called longevity of the flood dragon was to put the soul of the Chang Jiao into the body of a cultivator below the gold core stage. If this cultivator could bear the soul of the Chang Jiao and fuse with it, if the practitioner could bear the soul of the Chang Jiao and integrate with it, then the flesh and blood of the practitioner would become a panacea that could make him immortal. No matter how old the practitioner was, as long as he took the human flesh and blood that integrated with the Chang Jiao, he would be able to rejuvenate and live for at least 1,000 years. Most of the Xiozhi in Azure Blue World did not know about these secrets. Because the Chang Jiao was a 9th-rank spirit beast, powerful and rare. Even if there were people in the Azure Blue World who yearned for immortality, they did not have the ability to obtain the soul of the Chang Jiao. However, it was different in the Ziyun domain. There were many old monsters in the Ziyun domain who were at the leaving aperture stage or the crossing tribulation stage. They were slowly approaching the end of their lifespans, but their strength was unable to break through and ascend. Thus, for the sake of survival and greed, many people came up with all kinds of evil means to keep themselves young forever. Mai Xin used men as cultivation vessels to absorb their profound qi. That was one way. The heavenly flood dragon longevity was also a method, but the heavenly flood dragon longevity had very high requirements for the carrier of the Chang Jiao divine soul. If the soul of the Chang Jiao was placed in the body of an ordinary person, the body would not be able to withstand 2 souls at all. In the end, the body would explode and die, or become a monster filled with killing intent. In Liu Ruoxuan's mind, the image of the young man she had met today appeared. Just as the young man approached, she sensed the instability of his divine soul and the uniqueness of his physical body. If there was anyone in this world who could withstand the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan, it would definitely be his physical body. Ha 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 ha. Liu Ruoxuan suddenly burst into laughter. Her face was twisted with indescribable joy. "The heavens have indeed treated me well. I am the true favored child of the heavens. So the reason why I went through this experience today was to let me discover this point. Ha 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 ha." Chapter 1638. What are you laughing at? Hurry up and tell me, who told you about the heavenly longevity Jiao? If you don't tell me the truth, don't blame me for being impolite. He. Liu Ruoxuan doesn't care about his threat at all. She hooks up the corners of her lips and sneers. "You don't need to know how I know. What if I tell you that I know where to find the best carrier for the heavenly longevity Jiao? And I guarantee that as long as you catch this carrier, your experiment will not fail." "What did you say?" Diu Dao suddenly widens his eyes. "Quickly tell me, where is that carrier?" Liu Ruoxuan touches the wound on her face that still hurts to the bone. She sneers. "I can help you catch that carrier, but you have to give me enough male cultivators. Moreover, I want you to promise me that after it's done, You must make Jun Muyan and those bitches of Yaoguang branch die without a burial ground. Xiao Bao has been following Mu Yang around for several days. Wherever she goes, he sticks to her. Mu Yang also puts almost all of her experiences on him. Every day, she takes him everywhere, buys him new clothes, hugs him to sleep, and plays the zither for him. The martial uncles of the Xiao Yarrow school can't wait to circle around him, sending him all the good things for him to choose from. Xiao Bao feels that this kind of life is simply too blissful. But gradually, he still feels that something is missing. That night, after Mu Yang bathes Xiao Bao and puts on his pajamas for him, she sees Xiao Bao grabbing the hem of her clothes. After a long time of awkwardness, he softly says, "Nyang Qin, that person?" Mu Yang, which one? Xiao Bao blushes, and his voice is like a mosquito. "Dad, where's Dad?" After Xiao Bao came back, "I haven't seen Dad." At first, he was very happy to find that the lecher wasn't by his mother's side. Because in this way, he would be able to dominate his mother. However, day after day, the lecher still hasn't appeared. Xiao Bao's heart starts to panic. Could it be that Dad doesn't want him and Nyang Qin anymore? No, it can't be. Otherwise, when Xiao Bao was so uncomfortable, he wouldn't have felt Dad's breath. Dad definitely won't abandon Nyang Qin and Xiao Bao. Mu Yang stares blankly. Meeting Xiao Bao's nervous and expectant eyes, she can't help but smile. Don't look at how Xiao Bao and Di Mingju usually don't get along. When the two of them meet, their noses are not noses, their eyes are not eyes. But in fact, Di Mingju has never turned his back on Xiao Bao. Even when Xiao Bao was in danger, he was able to save Xiao Bao across the distance between the two worlds. And Xiao Bao is even more so. Don't look at how he always quarrels with Di Mingju. In fact, he has long regarded Di Mingju as a father in his heart. Occasionally, she sees Xiao Bao looking at Di Mingju with eyes full of reverence and yearning. That was the sense of security and trust that only his father could give him. It was a feeling that no matter how hard she, as his mother, tried, she could not make up for. Mu Yang carries Xiao Bao in her arms and kisses him on the top of his head. Does Xiao Bao miss Daddy? Xiao Bao awkwardly stays silent for a while before he buries his little face in Mu Yang's arms and softly says, "En." However, his little head quickly lifts up again, and he looks at Mu Yang with a bit of nervousness and expectation. "Nyang Qin, doesn't Daddy know that Xiao Bao is back? Why hasn't he come to see Xiao Bao? Does Daddy not like Xiao Bao anymore?" Chapter 1639. He always knew that Di Mingju wasn't his biological father, and he also heard those people calling him a bastard. So, even if he appears strong and cold on the outside, he's actually afraid in his heart. He's afraid that Di Mingju will dislike him and not like him. Little fool, how could that be? Mu Yang smiles gently. Daddy likes Xiao Bao the most. If he knew that Xiao Bao was back, he would definitely rush back to see Xiao Bao. It's just that Daddy isn't on this continent right now, so he doesn't know that Xiao Bao has returned. Xiao Bao nods, not really understanding. Mu Yang suddenly remembers a certain someone saying that they would get married after finding Xiao Bao. She can't help but hesitate for a moment, then asks, "Xiao Bao, do you like Daddy?" Xiao Bao's eyes flash, he raises his chubby little hand, his thumb resting on his index finger, and whispers, "A little, like." After that, he feels that it's not enough, so he moves his thumb back, his voice even quieter, a little more than a little. When he says this, his delicate little face is cold, but his ears are red to the neck. Mu Yang is simply melted by her son's adorable appearance. She hugs him and kisses him several times. She asks again, then, "Does Xiao Bao want Daddy to become your real daddy?" Xiao Bao blinks, his long eyelashes fluttering like little wings. "Does Nyang Qin want to marry Daddy?" Mu Yang smiles gently and nods. In this way, Xiao Bao, Nyang Qin, and Daddy will become a real family. Does Xiao Bao like it? His big aqua eyes suddenly light up, like stars in a summer night, shining brightly and projected into the tranquil deep sea, dazzlingly beautiful. Xiao Bao's cold little face seems to be brimming with lively happiness in a flash. But very quickly, his two little eyebrows wrinkle. "But, does Nyang Qin like Daddy?" If Enchantress likes, then Xiao Bao likes. Enchantress doesn't like it, Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao also doesn't like it. Mu Yang's breathing slightly stagnates, and her heart instantly feels sweet and sour, as if it's soaked in warm honey water. In this life, she has Xiao Bao, Di Mingju, and a family that dotes on her, protects her, and loves her. She really has no regrets in this life. Yes, Enchantress likes your daddy, very, very much. Before the people from the Phoenix Sky Academy left Constellation, they made a trip to the Alcade branch. Xing Danqing grinned and said, Z is a student of our Phoenix Sky Academy after all, and his time as an exchange student has come to an end. It's time for him to return to the Phoenix Sky Academy with us. The people of the Alcade branch were all stunned. If Xing Danqing had not mentioned it, they would have forgotten that Suzy was from the Phoenix Sky Academy. Suzy frowned. I don't want to return to the Phoenix Sky Academy. I want to be with little Missy. I've decided. I want to transfer to Starry School. Z, don't mess around, Xing Danqing said with a straight face. I've already let you be willful and let you go to the Starry School as an exchange student. A few days ago, someone in your family asked me about your situation. If something happens to you after you transfer to Starry School, how am I going to explain it to your family? Suzy sneered. They asked about me. They should be eager for me to die. Xing Danqing was about to lose her temper, but Mu Yang stopped her. Can't you let Z stay in Starry School? Chapter 1640. Although his, sent here, if something were to happen to him in the azure blue world, neither Feng Tian nor Xing Chen would be able to bear the responsibility. Xing Danqing smiled. If Miss Jun really cares about Z, you can come to our Feng Tian Academy to visit him. Of course, it would be even better if the people from your Alcade branch could transfer to our Feng Tian Academy. This meant that there was no room for negotiation in this matter. Suzy's usually gentle and innocent face was filled with anger. His eyes were icy cold. Big sister, didn't you say that you wouldn't abandon me? Are you going to go back on your words and give me away? Bang! An explosive pellet hit his head. Mu Yang said angrily, What do you mean give me away? Do you think you're a commodity? Suzy rubbed his forehead and stared at her with red eyes. His expression was unusually stubborn. You just want to chase me away. From that pair of clear eyes, Mu Yang saw a strong sense of unease, loneliness, and fear. This child seemed to be used to being abandoned, but craved warmth, so his whole body was filled with insecure stubbornness. She smiled faintly. You really can't stay here. You have to return to Feng Tian Academy. Suzy's face instantly twisted, his eyes even leaking a bit of hatred. However, Mu Yang's next words made him suddenly widen his eyes. But, I will tell Dean Xing to let you stay for another 7 days. In these 7 days, I will cure your illness. Suzy's lips trembled, he almost couldn't believe his ears. Big sister, what did you just say? Cure your illness. Isn't this what I promised you? Mu Yang's tone was indescribably calm, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder in Suzy's heart. In fact, I have been preparing to cure your heart disease for the past few days, but it was delayed because of the Jasper Forest gathering. Suzy looked at her anxiously and hopefully. Big sister, are you saying that my illness can really be cured? Mu Yang stared unblinkingly into his eyes, without the slightest bit of hesitation or evasion. When have I ever lied to you? I can also cultivate and fight like a normal person in the future. Yes. I won't die before I'm 25. Can I live a long, long life? Yes. Tears rolled down Suzy's cheeks without warning. The sparkling tears made the mole at the corner of his eye even clearer and more dazzling. Suzy suddenly reached out, wanting to pull Mu Yang into his arms. Little Missy, thank you. Thank you for giving me a new life. Thank you for never giving up on me and giving me new hope. However, before Suzy could touch Mu Yang's body, he was pushed away by a strong force. Xiao Bao hugs Mu Yan tightly. He turns his head and coldly glares at him. You're not allowed to hug Enchantress. Only Xiao Bao and Daddy can hug. Mu Yang looked at her jealous baby, and was not annoyed at all. Instead, she burst out laughing, and bent down to pick up Xiao Bao. Ever since the conversation between mother and daughter that night, Xiao Bao has been talking about Di Mingju, his father, more and more. Even her most beloved mother was only willing to let her father hug her. She just doesn't know what happened to Di Mingju in the end. Why hasn't he appeared yet? Chapter 1641. Thinking that his illness would be cured soon, he was so happy that he could not contain himself. After hearing Mu Yang's explanation, Xing Danqing shook her head. Miss Jun, I don't know what kind of miracle doctor you know. But Zi's illness cannot be cured. Do you know how many famous doctors there are in the Purple Cloud realm? The Su clan has invited many, but none of them succeeded. Do you think that the doctors in the Azure Blue realm are better than those in the Purple Cloud realm? However, Su Zi insisted on staying in the Alcade branch for another 7 days. Xing Danqing could not dissuade him and could only ask Lu Jinhang to stay behind to take care of him. She also asked Lu Jinhang to bring him back to the Fengtian Academy within 7 days. No one thought that something could happen in just 7 short days. Mu Yang had everything prepared to treat Su Zi, but she still lacked a few spirit herbs. These spirit herbs were not particularly rare or precious, but the amount needed was huge. She had to purchase them from many shops in various cities to prepare them. Mu Yang handed the task of purchasing the spirit herbs to Fatty Zheng and Jiang Xinyu. The two number 1 fans of Godyi were so happy that they danced with joy after receiving the task. They had been busy collecting the spirit herbs for the past 2 days. Jiang Xinyu was busy putting the collected spirit herbs into a Chengkuan bag before heading to the next city. She heard the clear voice of the youth behind her. Can I go with you to purchase the spirit herbs? Jiang Xinyu turned around and saw the handsome Su Zi. Her eyes brightened immediately. However, before she could speak, Fatty Zheng leaned over unkindly. What are you going to do? Don't you know that you are now under the protection of the Starry School and the Fengtian Academy? If we bring you out and something happens to you outside, won't we have to bear the consequences? Jiang Xinyu quickly elbowed him. We're just going to Tianluo City to purchase spirit herbs. What can happen? Junior brother Su has been locked up in the Alcade branch for the past few days. Isn't he bored? What's wrong with bringing him out for a walk? Hearing this, Su Zi's already clear eyes brightened. His handsome face became even more attractive. In reality, he wanted to give little Missy a gift before he left. However, after rummaging through all his storage equipment, he felt that none of his belongings were worthy of little Missy. However, he was not familiar with the few towns near the Starry School, so he wanted to ask Jiang Xinyu and Zheng Xiaopang for help. As soon as Jiang Xinyu saw his handsome face revealing a cute smile, she held her chin and was infatuated with him. She agreed without any resistance. Zheng Xiaopang was so angry that he could only sulk at the side. In the afternoon, the weather is unusually sultry. Mu Yang comes out of the space after practicing her Shun musician skills. She is somewhat breathless. At this moment, she saw little Fatty Zheng angrily walk in with a bag of elixirs on his back. Little Fatty, what's wrong? When he saw Mu Yang, his eyes reddened. He stuttered and hesitated for a long time before Mu Yang understood what he meant. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. It turned out that Zheng Little Fatty, Jiang Xinyu, and Su Zi had gone to collect spiritual herbs. In the end, Jiang Xinyu was obsessed with Su Zi the entire time. She circled around him, completely ignoring Zheng Little Fatty. In a fit of anger, Zheng Little Fatty ran off on his own. Chapter 1642. Jiang Xinyu, that heartless woman, she only knows how to giggle when she sees Su Zi's face. Bah, what's the use of a good-looking man? Can he protect her? Can he give her a sense of security? The 7 brilliances in the space heard this and immediately felt indignant. That's right. What's a pretty boy? He's not as good as a mighty and sturdy man. You women are so short-sighted. Mu Yang pressed her forehead, thinking, Ancestor, please don't join in the fun. Then she patted Zheng Xiaopang's head, but couldn't help laughing. Who was the one who bullied Jiang Xinyu with the people from the outer courtyard? Who was the one who stood up for Liu Ruoxuan and stripped Jiang Xinyu in public? Now you actually have the nerve to say that she ignored you. Zheng Xiaopang was stunned, his fat face suddenly flushed. At that time, I don't hate her at all. She wouldn't remember what happened back then and bear a grudge against me, right? Mu Yang looked at him stuttering, almost biting his tongue, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. It seemed that Zheng Xiaopang had fallen in love with Jiang Xinyu. As for Jiang Xinyu, this girl actually only liked good-looking men. So when she first saw her martial uncle, she was infatuated. Later, when she saw her in men's clothes, she fell in love with him. Now, when it came to Su Zi, she also threw Zheng Xiaopang to the back of her mind. But that was only pure appreciation of appearance, not true love. It's just that Jiang Xinyu and Zheng Xiaopang didn't know it. Mu Yang looked at Zheng Xiaopang up and down, and said with a faint smile, "You really want Jiang Xinyu to look at you? Even like you?" Zheng Xiaopang's face turned red, but he still nodded shyly. "It's very simple, as long as you can get rid of this fat on your body, maybe Jiang Xinyu will look at you in a different light." Zheng Xiaopang's facial features were actually quite good, but he was too fat. His whole body was covered with fat, so it covered his delicate features. If he could slim down, well, it would definitely be to Jiang Xinyu's liking. After teasing Zheng Xiaopang, Mu Yang went to continue preparing for Su Zi's operation. However, at night, Su Zi and Jiang Xinyu didn't come back. This time, the entire Yaoguang branch, including Lu Jinhang, couldn't sit still. Everyone went out to search. Zheng Xiaopang even mobilized the entire Starry School's outer house to search along the road from Tianluo City to Yaoguang branch. However, there was no trace of him. There's a strong ominous premonition in Mu Yan's heart. This premonition reached its peak in the early hours of the next day. Meanwhile, the people from the outer domain finally found Jiang Xinyu in a secluded cave in the Danyang mountain range. The moment she sees Jiang Xinyu, Mu Yan feels as if her brain has exploded, almost making her unable to breathe. "Xinyu!" Zheng Xiaopang screamed as he lunged over, grabbing the ice-cold naked body. His entire body trembled violently as tears rolled down his cheeks. "Xinyu! Xinyu! Xinyu! How could this be? Who could it be? Who did this to you?" He saw Jiang Xinyu lying naked in the muddy cave. There was not a single part of her body that was unharmed. His 10 fingers were all broken, and the place where the black eye was originally embedded was now empty, leaving only a bloody hole. Chapter 1643. However, when she opens her mouth, she can only see a mouth full of blood and a tongue that has been cut in half. Ah. She opens her mouth and makes a hoarse and mournful sound. Her body keeps convulsing, as if she wants to say something, but she can only make meaningless sounds. Mu Yang quickly pushes Zheng Little Fatty away and takes Jiang Xinyu from his arms. Healing talismans and elixirs are fed to her as if they cost nothing. However, as the talismans burn on Jiang Xinyu's body, the spiritual power completely collapses, unable to condense in her body. Mu Yang's hands begin to tremble uncontrollably, and her cold fingers almost can't hold Jiang Xinyu's pulse. Jiang Xinyu's dantian and meridians are destroyed. Therefore, her body can't even bear the spiritual power. Naturally, she can't accept talismans, elixirs, or even the Tian Mo Qin's treatment. Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao nervously grabs her sleeve, looking at her worriedly. The other people of the Xiao Yarrow school look at this scene with sorrow, but also worry as they look at Mu Yang and Zheng Little Fatty. Zheng Little Fatty's cold hand firmly grabs Mu Yang's hand, asking in a hoarse voice, You are the omnipotent great Godji, aren't you? You can save her, can't you?" Mu Yang closes her eyes, bending down to pick up Jiang Xinyu, saying hoarsely, "I will save her." However, just as she is about to carry Jiang Xinyu back to Yaoguang branch, Jiang Xinyu suddenly struggles violently. Then, her whole body rolls to the ground. "Xinyu!" Zheng Little Fatty cries and rushes over, wanting to pick her up. "Xinyu, let's go home, I'll carry you home, okay? It's all right, let's go home together, okay?" Jiang Xinyu desperately shakes her head, opening her mouth to say something, but she can only make hoarse sounds. Her face shows despair, as if her heart is dead. 2 lines of bloody tears fall down from her empty eye sockets. This scene makes everyone who sees it feel sad to the point of despair, so painful that they can't breathe. Jiang Xinyu makes sounds. Suddenly, using her blooded and powerless hands, she sticks a talisman on the ground and shakes it hard. Mu Yang suddenly thinks of something. She reaches out to grab her hand, gently not touching her fingers, and softly says, "Are you looking for Yi Liang Chen?" Jiang Xinyu's face brightens, and she heavily nods. Mu Yang held back the urge to cry. She hugged her and said softly, "I'm sorry that I didn't tell you the truth. I'm Yi Liang Chen. Sorry to disappoint you." Jiang Xinyu leaned against his chest in a daze and shook her head lightly. Her face that was covered in blood actually revealed a loving smile. She seemed to be saying, "I'm not disappointed at all. In my heart, Goddess Yi is just like you, omnipotent, beautiful, and powerful." Suddenly, her face changed, and she let out a hurried sound. Her hands kept waving, as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't. As she moved, the wounds on her body split open, and blood mixed with dirt seeped out. It was a ghastly sight. Zheng Xiaopeng's eyes were already swollen from crying. He hugged her tightly, wanting her to stop moving. Xin Yu, stop talking. Let us bring you home first, okay?" However, like crazy, Jiang pushes him and uses Jiang, and she, and uses with of she. Chapter 1644. Blood cuts through the skin on her hand, but she doesn't feel it. Save. Su. Z. E. It's. Liu. Finally, her body no longer has any strength, and she softly falls down. Zheng Xiaopeng shouts, throwing himself at her and holding her in his arms, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Xinyu, why did I quarrel with you in the afternoon? If I had accompanied you, I could have always been by your side to protect you. I'm sorry, it's all my fault, why did I have to leave your side? Wa. Xinyu, my Xinyu. Muyan and the others bring the unconscious Jiang Xinyu back to the Yaoguang branch courtyard, and carefully treat her wounds. However, even with Muyan's medical skills, she's still powerless in the face of such a scarred Jiang Xinyu. Zheng Xiaopeng stays by Jiang Xinyu's side, not willing to leave even a step. Every time he glances at Jiang Xinyu's wounds, he can't help but let out a low stifled cry. Muyan and the others leave the room. Hearing the sorrowful cries coming from inside, their mood becomes indescribably gloomy. Luo Yu's eyes are red, gnashing her teeth. In the end, who is so deranged? To actually use such a cruel method to torture a woman. Chu Moli suddenly says in a low voice, Jiang Xinyu wrote the word Liu. Junior sister, what did you think of? Muyan's eyes are as dark as water, surging with monstrous waves. Liu Ruoxuan. What? Liu Ruoxuan? Leng Yumor says in disbelief, didn't you say that she was taken away by the Zhu family? How could the Zhu family allow her to come out alive? However, Chu Moli said slowly, in the 3 Academies tournament, that woman who wanted to frame little junior sister for no reason, I felt that her aura was somewhat familiar from the start. However, I didn't think that it was Liu Ruoxuan. But now, it seems that we have been negligent towards this woman. It's my fault. Muyan closes her eyes and hoarsely says, I always thought that she was nothing more than a jumping clown. It didn't matter even if I ignored her. It was my arrogance and carelessness that led to Sinyu's ending today. Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao hugs her, raising his little head and looking at her worriedly. Meeting her son's concerned gaze, Mu Yang's heart that was filled with anger and killing intent slowly calms down. The people of the Xiao Yarrow sect quickly comforted her. Junior sister, this has nothing to do with you. Who would have thought that Liu Ruoxuan would have such heaven-defying luck? She fell to the bottom again and again, but she still managed to climb back up. Moreover, her methods are becoming more and more cruel. No, this is indeed junior sister's mistake. Only Chu Moli didn't console Muyan. Instead, he looked at her coldly, and said word by word, The world of cultivators is one where the weak are prey to the strong. It's cruel and cold. Even a lion beast knows to go all out to capture a rabbit, but little junior sister, you looked down on your opponent because she was weak, so you watched her grow stronger, and in the end, you caused irreparable damage. This in itself is your fault. Third senior brother. Luo Yu wanted to refute but was stopped by Mu Yang. She bowed deeply towards Chu Moli and slowly said, "Many thanks for third senior brother's teachings. I will firmly remember this lesson and will never repeat it again." Chu Moli smiled faintly. There was an indescribable admiration in his eyes as he looked at her. Chapter 1645. With such incredible talent and an even more talented son, she was pursued by so many people. She should have been at the age of arrogance, but she was able to keep her composure. In time, the entire Xiozhen continent, and even the Shoshen continent, would be stirred up by the rise of their little sister. Mu Yang suppressed the regret in her heart and frowned. It seems that Zi has fallen into Liu Ruoxuan's hands. But I don't understand why Liu Ruoxuan captured him. Chu Moli knocked on the back of the chair. I'm more curious about how Liu Ruoxuan can come and go as she pleases in the Starry School's protective matrix. The cave that Jiang Xinyu was found in was within the inner school of the Aliath branch. Logically, even if Liu Ruoxuan could enter the outer school of the Starry School, she could not enter the inner school. This was because other than the Alcade branch, every inner school was protected by a matrix. Without the identity token of the school, one could not enter at all. Now that you mention it, Yun Ruohan suddenly said. I've been attending classes in the Aliath branch and Heavenly Jade branch recently and heard some news. What news? It said that many students in the branches have gone missing. At first, they were only from the outer school, so it did not attract much attention. But in the past 2 days, even disciples from the Aliath branch and Heavenly Jade branch have gone missing. This includes the disciples who attended Teacher Mo's and youngest uncle's lessons. Luo Yu immediately said, could these people's disappearances be related to Liu Ruoxuan? I heard that because of Liu Ruoxuan, many people did not attend Teacher Mo's and youngest uncle's lessons in the end. As a result, they flew into a rage and taught Liu Ruoxuan a lesson. Jiang Xinyu too. I'm afraid she has the deepest grudge with Liu Ruoxuan. Mu Yang frowned. But Liu Ruoxuan alone could not make so many people go missing. There must be someone helping her behind the scenes. But who could this person be? Before she could finish, her expression suddenly changed. She shouted in a low voice, "Who is it?" However, it was quiet there. There was no sound at all. Little sister, I don't feel anyone. Did you make a mistake? Mu Yang frowned and quickly walked to the location where she had sensed the unknown aura. Suddenly, she stopped and looked down. Beneath her feet was a crumpled piece of talisman paper. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. She bent down to pick up the talisman. On the back of the talisman, there were words written in cinnabar, School of the Emperor Star, under Xin Yu, there is someone you are looking for. Be careful of Di Yudao. Mu Yang had just finished reading when the talisman paper in her hand ignited and disappeared without a trace. Who left this note? Was this person friend or foe? But now that Su Zi's life was on the line, there was no other way but to try to save him. Moreover, the last part where he told her to be careful of Di Yudao made her eyes even more serene. Liu Ruoxuan had a grudge against Jiang Xinyu and the missing people, so she wanted revenge. But she didn't have the ability to take revenge. But what if Di Yudao was the one behind Liu Ruoxuan? Then everything makes sense. Di Yudao was the chief of the Starry School, which meant that all the students here were under his control. Chapter 1646. However, with Di Yudao as the college chief, there would be no problem at all. First brother. Mu Yang suddenly turned around and made up her mind. Please invite Lu Jinhang over. In the main hall of the School of the Emperor Star, College Chief Di Yudao, a few deputy college chiefs, and the college chiefs of the various branches were gathered together to discuss the final matters of the Chonglin gathering. Suddenly, the door of the hall was pushed open. Xing Danqing's face was full of anger as she strode in. Behind him were Lu Jinhang and the other members of the Phoenix Sky King team. Di Yudao frowned. Xing Danqing, what are you doing? Xing Danqing sneered and gritted his teeth. A student from the Phoenix Sky Academy went missing in your starry school. Di Yudao, how are you going to explain this to me? What student? Di Yudao asked. Su Zi. An exchange student from the Phoenix Sky Academy to your starry school. Hearing Su Zi's name, Di Yudao's pupils constricted. However, he immediately put on a confused expression. Didn't the exchange student from the Phoenix Sky Academy go to the Alcade branch? He's gone. You should ask the people from the Alcade branch. What's the point of asking me? You're the college chief of the starry school. If not you, who should I ask? Xing Danqing was furious. Di Yudao, let me tell you, Su Zi's identity is not ordinary. If something really happens to him, the entire starry school will be in deep trouble, Xing Danqing said angrily. Di Yudao's eyebrows twitched, but he quickly suppressed his uneasiness and pretended to be confused. College Chief Xing, could it be that Su Zi went out to train himself and didn't report to anyone? Lu Jinhang stepped forward and said calmly, reporting to College Chief Di, someone saw junior brother Su return from Tianluo City and disappear after entering the starry school's matrix. It's been a day and night now. I think that no matter how playful he is, he should be back after playing in the starry school for so long. Moreover, we promised to bring him back to the Phoenix Sky Academy tomorrow. He won't break his promise for no reason. Di Yudao asked, then what do you want to do? Xing Danqing waved her hand and said, search. I want to flip all the branches of the starry school upside down, especially the Aliath branch where Z disappeared. We must search it thoroughly. Di Yudao immediately sighed in relief when he heard that they wanted to search the various super courtyards. He agreed without any hesitation. Lu Jinhang smiled and said, the people from the Phoenix Sky Academy are not familiar with the starry school. I would like to invite College Chief Zhai and the other college chiefs to accompany us. Is that possible? The entire starry school was in chaos because of Su Zi's disappearance. Only the school of the Emperor Star was silent. Under the tranquil moonlight, the people of the Xiaoyaro school appeared on the Taiyi Square. Luo Yu held onto Xiao Bao's hand as she searched the Taiyi Plaza. She nagged, Xiao Bao, it's really dangerous here. You're still so young. How could you come here? Why don't 7th Marshal Uncle send you back to Guang Branch Courtyard now? Xiao Bao glanced at him coldly and ignored him. Leng Yumor, who was at the side, also said, I don't know what junior sister is thinking. Xiao Bao said he wanted to follow and she actually agreed. Moreover, she's missing now. If our baby Bayer is injured, my 4th Marshal Uncle's heart will ache. Chapter 1647. However, after searching for a while in the Taiyi Square, they couldn't find anything. Leng Yumor and the others also tried to destroy it by force. But the Taiyi Square wasn't an ordinary square building, it was a mustard seed space. The flying sword magic treasure slashed down towards the ground, but it could only leave a shallow mark, then disappeared without a trace. Is the person who left the message really reliable? This should be the Taiyi Square of the School of the Emperor Star, but there's clearly only the Taiyi Square, there's nothing. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, Xiao Bao's stomach suddenly moved. Then, a fluffy rabbit suddenly drilled out and landed on the ground, yawning. Bunny. Xiao Bao was overjoyed to see the fat rabbit wake up. He quickly bent down to pick it up and kiss it. Bunny, are you okay? The fat rabbit had been in a coma since that day in order to save Xiao Bao in the Fuxi secret realm. It couldn't even reunite with Mu Yang. At this time, being held in the arms of its favorite little master, its short tail shook, and from time to time, it made a comfortable purring sound. The people of the Xiao Yaro school revealed kind smiles when they saw this scene. The exquisite and beautiful little boy was hugging the soft and adorable rabbit. This scene was simply too beautiful. Their hearts were about to melt. But their precious martial nephew's spirit pet was too weak. It was actually a rabbit. How could such a spirit pet protect Xiao Bao? When they have time later, they must catch a few high-level spirit beasts for their precious martial nephew to choose from. The fat rabbit warmed in Xiao Bao's arms, then suddenly twisted its body and howled downwards, slurping its saliva. Awoo tilde tilde little master, there's something delicious down there, quickly let the bunny go down to eat. Although the fat rabbit couldn't speak, Xiao Bao immediately understood what he meant. There's something delicious down there, but I can't find an entrant. Suddenly, he said, Mother said that if there's no road, then open a road. Why didn't I think of that? Then, Xiao Bao spread out his small hand, and the Bixia sword appeared in his hand. The huge black sword looked particularly old and shabby under the moonlight. Furthermore, the Bixia sword could not be shrunk. When the sword stood up, it was about the same size as Xiao Bao. Now that it was in little Bao's hands, it was like a little doll hugging a huge toy. It was extremely uncoordinated. The martial uncles and martial uncles of the Xiao Yarrow sect felt sorry for him. This sword is too old and broken. It doesn't suit our precious nephew at all. That's right, that's right. How did junior sister become a mother? Why didn't she change Xiao Bao's sword? Tomorrow, I'll go buy a long sword for martial nephew. At the very least, it must be a 7th grade spiritual weapon forged by Master Yin Xiu. Only then will it be worthy of our little Bao. As they spoke, they saw Xiao Bao raise the sword in his hand and stab it into the ground. There was a piercing sound. The ground of the Taiyi Square, which the people of the Xiaoyaro school had failed to cut, was pierced through. Xiao Bao waved his hand and a square-shaped brick was cut out from the ground of the Taiyi Square. At the bottom was a pitch-black entrance. Everyone from the Xiao Yarrow sect, they were all in a mess. Was this really the fucking Taiyi Square that they had slashed for half a day without being able to damage? Chapter 1648. And he was using the broken sword that they had just despised. At this moment, they really wanted to find a piece of tofu to knock into. After exiting the cave, the obedient Xiao Bao remembered that his mother had to respect his teachers. He looked at Yun Ruohan and the others with sparkling blue eyes. Uncle Master, please go first. The Xiaoyaro sect people who were invited first all entered the cave with complicated expressions. Far away in the Aliath school, Di Yudao, who was searching with Xing Danqing and Lu Jinhang, immediately sensed that Taiyi Square had been destroyed. He quickly wanted to leave but was stopped by Lu Jinhang. Lu Jinhang smiled faintly. Chief Zhai, why are you leaving now? We've only searched 3 out of the 7 schools. Di Yudao forced a smile. The school of the Emperor Star has something to deal with. The other school chiefs will accompany you from now on. No. Xing Danqing stopped him and said coldly, if we find the person who hurt Suzy in the Starry School, shouldn't you, the chief, stay here and give me an explanation? I'm telling you, don't think about leaving just like this. Di Yudao was very anxious, but he could not leave at all. He could only call Shu Iluan over. Go to the school of the Emperor Star and take a look. If you see any troublemakers, capture them immediately. Shu Iluan had been by Di Yudao's side for the past few years. Because he was humble and obedient, Di Yudao trusted him a lot. Although Di Yudao did not completely treat him as a confidant, he had already started to ask him to do many things. And every time, Shu Iluan had never disappointed him. Even if he was asked to kill or set fire, he would never object. Ever since Wei Tianming died, he had lost a capable helper. As a result, he was restricted in many things. It seemed like it was time to promote Shu Iluan. Hearing this, Shu Iluan immediately answered respectfully, yes, chief. Just as he was about to turn and leave, Di Yudao suddenly gritted his teeth and took out his token. Especially my room. Help me look after it. If anyone dares to enter, kill them without mercy. A dark light flashed in the depths of Shu Iluan's eyes. Then he immediately took the token respectfully. The moment he turned around, a sinister, crazed, pained, and yearning expression appeared on his face. Xiao Bao and the others entered the Taiyi Square and found that there was a tunnel inside. However, A metal door appeared at the end of the tunnel. Yun Ruahan lightly touched it, and the iron door immediately lit up. Many talisman arrays appeared on it. Leng Yumor said impatiently, "Let me chop down this metal door." "No." Yun Ruahan hurriedly stopped her. "This talisman array might have an alarm function. What if you cut it off and the people inside get wind of it? What if they get desperate and hurt Z? If this doesn't work and that doesn't work, then what do you think we should do? If we wait any longer, Suzy will still be dead by the time we arrive." A beautiful little red head suddenly popped out from behind Xiao Bao. It was an extremely beautiful little bird. She said in a weak voice, "Little big brother, can I try?" Of course, the people of the Xiaoyaro sect all knew Qiu Qiu. But they had always thought that it was just an ornamental spiritual pet raised by their junior sister. Chapter 1649. Later, they found out that this beautiful little bird was raised by their little martial nephew. They couldn't help but silently curse in their hearts. How could little martial sister raise such a useless spiritual pet for her own son? Although it looked cute, it couldn't protect their little martial nephew. How could it be compared to those powerful spiritual pets? Now that they heard the little phoenix say it had a way, they didn't take it to heart. Xiao Bao nodded, "Try it." The little phoenix immediately flew out from his back happily, its beautiful feathers circling in the air. The originally dark tunnel immediately became bright and vibrant. It was indescribably beautiful. Then the little phoenix opened its mouth and let out a clear cry. It spat out a ball of fire towards the iron door. However, this fire was really too small. It was about the size of a baby's fist, and after it flew out of the little phoenix's mouth, it seemed to be too heavy. It fell down and almost fell to the ground. The little phoenix was anxious. It hurriedly flapped its wings and flew over, blowing and blowing. Luo Yu and the others didn't dare to look straight at it. Although Qiu Qiu's appearance was 100 times better than a normal fiery bird. But this strength was really, what kind of fireball was it spat out? Even the spiritual fire condensed from their fire spiritual power was bigger than it. However, the little bird was finally able to spit out spiritual fire, so Luo Yu and the others still gave it face and applauded. Qiu Qiu is not bad, at least the fireball it spat out is slightly bigger than before. Yes, Qiu Qiu has already done very well, but leave the rest to me. Before the last word us could be said, the fireball landed on the iron door. The fireball landed on the metal door. In an instant, a silent golden flame suddenly sprang up from the metal door. In just a short moment, the talisman array on the iron door was completely burnt. Moreover, only a few breaths had passed, not a single sound was made. The words of comfort from the Xiao Yarrow sect were stuck in their throats. They were completely dumbfounded. The little phoenix happily hovered around Xiao Bao. Little big brother, did Qiu Qiu become stronger? Ever since little big brother became stronger, Qiu Qiu discovered that it also became stronger. And after little big brother came back, the ball of fire became bigger. I'm so happy. Xiao Bao rubbed the little phoenix's head. You did well. The little phoenix immediately happily kept circling around, and the entire corridor was filled with its clear cries. When it was happy enough, the little phoenix looked at Luo Yu, 7th martial uncle. What did you say I would give you? Luo Yu. Hihi, nothing. At this moment, the fat rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms was already wriggling its butt impatiently. If it wasn't because it was too big, it would be too big. Luo Yu saw the rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms wriggling non-stop. She couldn't help but say, Xiao Bao, why don't you keep the rabbit? The scene inside might be a little bloody, and it wouldn't be good if the fight scared the rabbit. Look, it's trembling in fear. Xiao Bao pressed down on the fat rabbit's body, which was about to bounce out, and raised his head to look at Luo Yu. 7th martial aunt, it's okay. Rabbit is very powerful and isn't afraid of anything. Rabbit is only hungry. Luo Yu thought to herself, if you're hungry, why don't you feed it spirit fruits? Chapter 1650. Rabbit. Lil Bao cried out in alarm and hurriedly followed. When the Xiao Yarrow sect disciples saw this, they realized that if they let their beloved martial nephew get hurt, they would commit suicide. Therefore, they quickly followed after them. Just as they turned the corner, they heard the roar of a wild beast. Yun Ruohan and the others' expressions changed greatly. They quickened their steps, but when they saw the scene in front of them, their pupils shrank. At the end of the corner was a place that looked like a coliseum. There were all kinds of strange monsters inside. Some had scales, some had tentacles all over their bodies, and some had sharp claws and fangs. The only thing they had in common was that every one of them looked ferocious and had crimson eyes. It was obvious that they did not have any intelligence. Between the tunnel and the coliseum, there was originally a barbed wire fence. But now, the wire fence had been bitten through by something. Lil Bao and the fat rabbit had already entered. The monsters inside immediately smelled the scent of living people. They let out beast-like roars and excitedly pounced towards Lil Bao and the fat rabbit. One of the monsters that was covered in scales opened its mouth and stretched out a bright red, narrow, and barbed tongue towards Lil Bao. Lil Bao. The people of the Xiaoyaro sect screamed and wanted to rush over. But it was too late. Even if they could fly, they wouldn't be able to make it in time. They couldn't imagine what would happen if their little martial nephew was harmed under their protection. How would they explain it to their little martial sister when they returned? Luo Yu was so anxious that her eyes turned red. She almost wanted to close her eyes and didn't dare to look. Only Lil Bao, who was surrounded by the monster, remained calm. He lightly swung the Bixie sword in his hand. The black sword spun in the air and fell to the ground with a clatter. It actually pierced through the monster's tongue and nailed it to the ground. Arth! The monster let out a mournful roar. It wanted to retreat, but it couldn't move at all. Not only could it not move, but the Bixie sword with its tongue in it lit up with a green and white light. It was as if something was flowing from the monster's body into the Bixie sword. When the fat rabbit saw this, it immediately became anxious. It let out a loud howl and suddenly jumped onto the monster's head. Its claws clawed and its mouth bit. He didn't bite out a mouthful of flesh and blood, but he pulled out a ball of black gas. The Bixie sword couldn't stand it any longer. It let go of the monster's tongue and pounced forward with a buzzing sound. "You damned rabbit, put down my food. This is mine. Oh mine, mine. All the food is my fat rabbit. Bastard. How dare you steal my food? I'll chop you to death. Woo. Woo woo woo. You dare steal my beast soul? I'll bite you to death." Therefore, the people of the Xiaoyaro sect, who had just arrived in a panic, witnessed a scene that completely shattered their worldview. They saw the worn-out flying sword that they looked down upon and the adorable white-furred rabbit that looked like an ornamental pet. The two of them were slaughtering the monsters in the Colosseum while fighting over the black gas that floated out of the monsters. Biting, fighting, cursing, howling, they resorted to every conceivable means. Chapter 1651. In the end, the two of them angrily rushed in front of Xiao Bao, asking him to be the judge. "Ao Wu, little master, this bad sword stole the fat rabbit's beast soul. You have to help the fat rabbit. Little master, you can't be biased, bullying the kind and fearing the evil. The evil warding sword's strength increased, that is equal to little master's strength increased. This damn fat rabbit even dared to steal little master's things. Little master, you must not tolerate it. Ao Wu. Wong wong wong. Roar 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 bang bang bang." As the rabbit and the sword spoke, they began to quarrel again. In the huge Colosseum, the swords flashed, sand flew, and stones rolled. The murderous aura was enough to make a golden core stage cultivator's legs weak. The people of the Xiao Yarrow sect were dumbfounded, not knowing how to react. But soon, they saw their precious martial nephew in the center of the storm. The small figure in the rain of swords was like a small boat that could be overturned at any time. The few of them wanted to rush over and carry Xiao Bao out of the battle. But before they could move, their hearts inexplicably jumped. They felt that the next scene might be a slap in the face, Sure enough, in the next moment, they saw Xiao Bao, who could not bear it anymore, walk forward expressionlessly. He mercilessly punched the sword and the rabbit. Bang! The first punch, the arrogant evil warding sword buzzed twice, and fell to the ground powerlessly. Bang! The second punch, the fat rabbit somersaulted in the air, whined twice, and obediently burrowed into Xiao Bao's arms. Xiao Bao coldly said, "Too noisy." Woo woo tilde tilde. The fat rabbit rubbed its head in his arms, its butt and short tail swaying outside. Mph, this rabbit will not stoop to your stupid sword's level. The evil warding sword buzzed, and with a whoosh, it shot into Xiao Bao's chest, disappearing without a trace. Leaving behind a string of clamors, for little master's sake, I'll let you go today. One day, I'll turn you into stir-fried rabbit meat. Xiao Bao touched the fat rabbit in his arms, and comforted the frightened little phoenix on his shoulder. He then turned to Luo Yu and the others. Martial uncle, it's settled, let's go and find Uncle Zi. Oh, okay. It's good that it's settled. Hehe, if only the solution wasn't so dreamy. In an empty room in the underground laboratory, Di Yudao's trusted aides, He Shanjing and Liu Ruoxuan, stared at the youth lying on the bed without blinking. The young man's 4 limbs were tied up, and his skin turned black and purple. His entire face was contorted from the pain. From time to time, he would let out a shrill, beast-like howl. He Shan and Liu Ruoxuan, as well as the other black-clothed men in the room, were excited to see this. He Shan, Miss Liu was right, this person's body can really bear the Chang Jiao's beast soul. Ha ha ha, Miss Liu is the main reason why the longevity of the heavenly flood dragon was successful. Master will definitely not treat you unfairly. Liu Ruoxuan looked at Su Zi, who was moaning and struggling on the bed. She felt an indescribable joy in her heart. Back then, it was this young man who used his gentle and innocent face to trick him into drinking the poison that pierced his intestines. How could this little bit of pain be enough for him? Chapter 1652. He Shan promptly stops her. Miss Liu, what are you doing? Hey, there are only 3 Chang Jiao souls. After Jiao Tian succeeds in extending his lifespan, the elixir refined from his flesh and blood can at most extend his lifespan by a year. However, if it turns into 6 Chang Jiao souls, then it's different. Perhaps it can let him enjoy immortal fortune forever, and live as long as the heavens. This. He Shan hesitates. The Chang Jiao's beast soul is very powerful. If by any chance his body can't bear it, then all his efforts would be in vain. Liu Ruo. She tenderly smiles as she approaches him, rubbing her ample bosom against him. Don't worry, I have a sense of propriety. When he can't bear it anymore, I'll take out the Chang Jiao's soul. Big brother this person fed this servant gut-piercing poison at that time, almost taking this servant's life. If he can't be taught a lesson, how can this servant be reconciled? Listening to Liu Ruo, her coquettish words, smelling the fragrance on her body, He Shan's heart is like a monkey galloping like a galloping horse, his mind and soul captivated. Fine, Miss Liu, you can deal with him however you want. Liu Ruo. Her eyes flash with deep disgust and pride, she turns around and walks in front of Su Zi. Su Zi suddenly opens his eyes, meeting her gaze. If you have the ability, kill me. Kill you. Liu Ruo laughs sinisterly. If I kill you so easily, wouldn't it be too easy for you? Don't worry, you'll definitely die. However, I'll wait until you're in a state where you can neither live nor die, then I'll refine your flesh and blood into an elixir, ha ha ha. Little sister, will never let go. Pass. You. Hearing him mention Jun Muyin, Liu Ruo, her face instantly distorts. This woman is like her natural nemesis, sending her into an abyss of eternal damnation again and again. But it doesn't matter. Very soon, she'll be able to climb up a high branch. As for Jun Muyin, she can only watch helplessly as the people around her die without a complete corpse. How much remorse and pain would she feel? Ha ha ha, I wonder if she saw Jiang Xinyu, that slut's miserable appearance. That scene must be very interesting, it would make her very happy. Liu Ruo. She looks at Su Zi with a thick malice in her eyes, and shakes the black elixir in her hand at him. He, if you want that slut Jun Muyan to come and save you, then she has to be able to find this place. Unfortunately, they would never be able to find this place. As for you, you can only be a fish in my hand, waiting to be slaughtered by me, ha ha ha. Right now, you only have 3 Chang Flood Dragon Beast Souls in your body, and you're already in so much pain. Take a guess, if I stuffed 4, 5, 6 Chang Jiao Beast Souls into your body, what would happen to you? Su Zi's pupils constricted slightly, revealing deep fear and despair in his eyes. The pain of his divine soul being torn apart just now was like hell. If he had 3 more beast souls, seeing the fear and despair on Su Zi's face, Liu Ruo? He laughed out loud and stuffed the beast soul elixir in his hand into his mouth. However, at this moment, a loud bang suddenly sounded. Liu Ruo? Before he could even react, he was sent flying, crashing heavily into a large urn at the side. The large urn shattered with a loud bang, and the black beast soul elixirs all tumbled to the ground. Liu Ruo? She screams miserably, her whole body pressed against the fragments of the urn, blood flowing everywhere. Chapter 1653. As soon as she finished, dozens of men in black rushed out from all directions. Each of them was at the peak of the evil warding realm. Lung Yumor raised her broadsword and smiled sinisterly. My broadsword has endured for a long time. Now, I can finally start killing. Along the way, their desire to protect their little martial nephew was completely extinguished from the moment it was boiling. In the end, they were led by Xiaobao and won without doing anything. That felt really good. As martial uncle and martial uncle, their self-esteem had suffered a serious blow. At this moment, they only wanted to have a good fight to vent their frustrations and show off their power in front of their precious nephew. Therefore, in less than 15 minutes, the dozens of men in black were all lying on the ground, barely breathing. He Shan stared at them in horror. You want to rebel? This is College Head Jai's place. You just barged in, aren't you afraid of being expelled from the school? Luo Yu squinted her eyes and said with a faint smile, oh, I didn't know if you didn't tell me. So this is College Head Jai's territory. I didn't expect the college head of the Starry School to do something like this in the school of the Emperor Star. He Shan's face paled and he shut his mouth, not daring to say another word. Suddenly, Su Zi's painful scream came from the stone bed at the side. Yun Ruohan and the others rushed over and saw that Su Zi's skin seemed to have been hit by something. It kept bulging and sinking. And the heart-wrenching screams he let out were simply unbearable to listen to. Luo Yu asked, what do we do? Should we carry him out to find our little sister? Yun Ruohan reached out to touch him, but Su Zi screamed even louder. Seeing this, He Shan couldn't help but laugh maniacally. Don't waste your energy. His body has already been stuffed with the souls of 4 Chang Jiao. He will either become a monster or explode and die. And before he dies, he will be tortured day and night, living a life worse than death. Ha ha ha, no one in this world can save him. Just as he finished speaking, he saw a delicate and pretty little boy, carrying a furry fat rabbit in one hand and dragging a huge long sword in the other, slowly walk in. He Shan was confused as to why a child would come here. The fat rabbit and the long sword suddenly trembled at the same time. Then, without waiting for anyone to react, they scrambled to be the first to fall to the ground. Scattered on the ground were several dozens of beast soul pills, which contained the beast soul of Chang Jiao. Moreover, it was the last beast soul elixir that Di Yudao had. The fat rabbit opened its mouth, and with a sweep of its long tongue, a dozen beast soul dons were directly swallowed by it. Not to be outdone, the Bixia sword buzzed and swept in a circle. The originally shiny black beast soul elixir immediately lost its luster and shattered. In just a few short breaths, the beast soul pills on the ground had either disappeared or shattered. Not a single one was left behind. He Shan trembled as he looked at the scene in front of him. He almost fainted. This was dozens of beast soul elixirs. If any human or beast swallowed one, they would explode and die. But what was this rabbit? It actually swallowed 20 to 30 pills, and there wasn't even the slightest reaction. And that sword, how could a sword devour beast souls? What was going on? Chapter 1654. One stood on the top of the rabbit's head, the other on its chest, dragging and pulling. The fat rabbit burped and lazily jumped back into Xiao Bao's arms. It twisted its buttocks and turned over comfortably, letting Xiao Bao scratch it. Seeing that there's so much food and that I'm already full, I won't argue with you, you damned bitch. The evil warding sword also shook its body, which was clearly much brighter than before, and flew back into Xiao Bao's body. The feeling of being full of energy was so comfortable. Bixia felt that it was about to be unsealed again. Su Zi, whose beast soul had disappeared, immediately stopped screaming. Although he did not wake up, his expression became calm and peaceful. He Shan stood there in a daze for a long time, then suddenly screamed, "Those are all precious beast soul pills given by the noble. Only by stuffing these beast souls into people's bodies and making them into heavenly longevity jiao can we report to the noble. You actually swallowed them all, swallowed them. Are you looking to die?" Yun Ruohan's expression darkened. "So you've stuffed beast souls into those half-human, half-ghost monsters? Those are the missing students of the Starry School, right?" He Shan sneered. "So what? Those are just useless outer sect disciples. There are 2 inner sect disciples, but they have no power or influence. It's their good fortune for us to use this kind of trash for our experiments. Let me tell you, these useless people merged with the Chang Jiao's beast souls to make the elixir of immortality. This elixir is to be given to the most powerful noble in the Ziyun realm. Do you know what will happen to you if you dare to destroy the noble's things?" Hearing that these people had actually captured innocent students and used them to refine pills, Yun Ruohan's group's anger flared like a raging inferno. This was a school that was supposed to educate people, but they treated young cultivators who came to seek knowledge as experimental subjects and trampled on them. They turned them into monsters that were neither human nor ghost, then casually killed and discarded them. How could someone like this be a teacher? A college chief? Seeing that they did not speak, He Shan thought that they were afraid. "I advise you, if you know what's good for you, kneel and beg for mercy, then leave obediently. Otherwise, the next ones to become the Chang Jiao's vessel will be you." Luoyu couldn't take it anymore and suddenly moved her fingers. He Shan was talking when he suddenly felt something small fall on his body. He opened his mouth and was about to speak when he suddenly felt something rushing into his body. Then, a heart-wrenching pain surged from his internal organs, throat, and esophagus. "Ah!" A moment later, He Shan fell to the ground, twitching. Black blood flowed out of his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. This was a miniature puppet controlled by Luoyu. During this period of time, the people of the Xiao Yarrow school had been practicing hard, hoping to awaken their domains. Although Luoyu had yet to open the door to her domain, her control over the puppets had already reached an unimaginable level. Qin Ju stepped forward and carried Su Zi on her back. They were about to leave. Luoyu's expression changed. "Where's Liu Ruoxuan?" The woman who had just fainted in a pool of blood had already disappeared. Leng Yumor gritted her teeth and said, "Damn it, this beast actually ran away again." Chapter 1655. Then, they saw Di Yudao's figure suddenly flash in front of them. Behind him were a few Golden Core deacons from the Academic Supervisory Committee. After Di Yudao stood still, his eyes swept across the mess, and his body trembled violently because of anger and fear. A strong pressure, accompanied by a bone-piercing killing intent, filled every corner of the room, and rushed towards Xiaobao and the people of the Xiaoyaro sect. "How dare you damage my beast soul elixir and ruin my lifespan? Today, I will make you beg for death." Under the moonlight, Liu Ruo, fleeing in panic in the Kang Mountain, she touched her wounds from time to time and looked back in panic. When he realized that no one was chasing after him, he slowly stopped running. Unconsciously, a proud smile appeared on her face. See, she said that the heavens were looking after her. She was the favored child of the heavens, and was destined to have a meteoric rise. Those lowly trash were destined to be trampled under her feet one day. At this moment, she suddenly heard a low sound of a zither. Liu Ruo? She stopped and was puzzled. How could there be zither music in the Danyang mountain range? Just as she was thinking about this, the spiritual plants around her suddenly made a rustling sound and shook gently. Under her feet, something was crawling quickly. It was as if something was surging in her direction. Liu Ruo? She had a bad premonition. Who? Who was the one hiding in the shadows? Get out here. The grass was slowly moved, and then a chubby youth walked out of the tall bushes. Liu Ruo? Do you remember me? Liu Ruo? Seeing the person, her heart that had been in her throat immediately calmed down, and a trace of contempt flashed across her eyes. Zheng Jiabao, what are you doing here? Fatty Zheng revealed a dazed smile. So you still remember me? Then do you remember Jiang Xinyu? Liu Ruo? Hearing this, she immediately frowned in disgust, and then giggled. So, you hooked up with Jiang Xinyu. A useless fatty and a shameless slut, what a good match. Upon hearing this, Zheng Xiaopeng's reddened eyes instantly turned bloodshot. His face instantly contorted into a sinister expression. Say it again if you dare. Ha ha ha. Liu Ruo? Looks like you've seen that bitch's pitiful appearance. How is it? As your junior sister, I treat her well, right? He specially found 7 or 8 strong men to serve her. In the end, they dug out her eyeballs, severed all the tendons and veins in her body, destroyed her dantian, and even cut off her fingers and tongue so that she could not send any messages. But I didn't expect that you didn't despise such a broken woman and even guessed that I was the one who did it. TSK, TSK, TSK. Such deep affection is really touching. Listen to Liu Ruo. As he recounted the process of torturing Jiang Xinyu, Zheng Little Fatty's entire body trembled. Tears rolled down her cheeks uncontrollably. After Jiang Xinyu woke up for the second time, he felt much better. He even gestured to Zheng Little Fatty to fetch some beautiful clothes for him. Zheng Little Fatty did not suspect anything and happily went to buy new clothes for her. However, when he returned, all he saw was Jiang Xinyu's cold corpse. Jiang Xinyu had committed suicide. He walked away quietly with a smile on his face. Chapter 1656. Zheng Little Fatty spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. He was filled with remorse, anger, heartache, and despair, but most of all, he had an irreconcilable hatred for the woman in front of him. Ever since he had woken up, Zheng Xiaopeng had sworn to himself that he would never, ever let Liu Ruochen win. This vicious slut, blood for blood. Zheng Jiabao clenched his teeth and said word by word, Liu Ruo? I swear, I will tear you to pieces. I will return the pain you inflicted on Xin Yu 10 times, 100 times more. Liu Ruo? His bloodthirsty eyes frightened her so much that her heart turned cold. Then, he laughed out loud. Tear me to pieces? With just you? Ha ha ha, Zheng Jiabao, you are just a good-for-nothing who has just reached the first rank of Enidia. You actually want to tear me, a practitioner at the peak of Jindan stage, into pieces. Are you dreaming? As soon as she finished speaking, the melodious sound of the zither rang out again in the mountains. Liu Ruo? He felt as if the ground beneath his feet was cracking again. The sound of. Then, she heard a light and sweet female voice that sounded like the sounds of nature. Because he has me to help him. Hearing this voice, Liu Ruoyon's heart skipped a beat. His expression changed. Then, the rustling grass and trees that were brushing against her clothes suddenly flew to the sides as if they were alive. The moonlight shone on a black-haired girl in a green robe. Her white skin was like the most sparkling and translucent porcelain under the moonlight, and her ink-black silky hair fluttered in the wind. A pair of enchanting peach blossom eyes carried a bone-chilling coldness as he looked over with a faint smile. It was like the reflection of light from the abyss in the depths of hell. Liu Ruo? His body suddenly stiffens, his heart welling up with instinctive fear and bone-piercing hatred. Jun. Mu Yang. Why are you here? Mu Yang smiles faintly. I've been waiting for you here. No, that's impossible. She screamed. How did you know I would escape in this direction? Of course, Mu Yang doesn't know which direction she will escape to. But she had guessed that Liu Ruochen would not be able to escape. Eldest senior brother and the others probably wouldn't be able to catch her if she didn't run out of luck. As for Liu Ruo, the most likely direction was the Danyang mountain range. The Danyang mountain range was huge. If she escaped into the mountains, ordinary people would not be able to find her. But Muyan is different. She has been waiting here since early in the morning, playing the Tian Mo Qin. Myriad plants resonating, and, summer bug of ice, were activated at the same time. At this moment, in the forest adjacent to the school of the Emperor Star in the Danyang mountain range, all the plants, snakes, insects, rats, and ants were her eyes. It was as if an inescapable net had been set up in the Danyang mountain range. Liu Ruo. No matter how heaven-defying his luck was, there was no way he could escape. Mu Yang coldly looks at her. What's the use of a dead person knowing how I found you? Liu Ruo. Clenching her teeth, she says, Jun Muyan, don't be too arrogant. Even if you're powerful, you're still just a foundation establishment stage cultivator. I'm currently at the peak of Aurus core stage. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Mu Yang doesn't pay attention to her at all. Instead, she looks at Zheng Xiaopang. Do you want to personally avenge Jiang Xinyu? Zheng Xiaopang grits his teeth and hisses, I dream of it. Chapter 1657. Liu Ruo. She has always been on guard against Muyan. However, when she sees that Muyan is just sitting in front of the Tian Mo Qin, not even having the intention to move, but letting Zheng Jiabao attack her, she almost wants to look up to the sky and howl. In the end, is Jun Muyan too arrogant, or is her brain broken? How could he let a piece of trash who had just entered the Enidia stage kill him? Ha ha ha, did she really think that her cultivation at the peak of the Gold Core realm was just for show? Wait a minute, as long as she restrains Zheng Jiabao, that damn fatty, and tortures him bit by bit in front of Muyan, she doesn't believe that Muyan wouldn't be thrown into confusion. Liu Ruo. The more he thought about it, the more pleased he became. She felt that she was indeed the favored child of the heavenly Tao. All the luck was on her side. However, just as this thought flashed through her mind, suddenly, she felt a cold and heavy aura engulfing her entire body. The sound of the zither, which was originally just echoing in the air, suddenly seemed to have smashed heavily on her heart. Star domain, activated. Liu Ruo. He frowned and almost wanted to cover his ears. The sound of the zither was too noisy, so noisy that she couldn't breathe. Moreover, gradually, her hands and feet seemed to be tied by something. It was heavy and painful, and even lifting them required a lot of strength. On the contrary, Zheng Little Fatty's originally cumbersome body suddenly became as light as a swallow. All the spiritual energy in his body began to circulate, and there was no longer any obstruction. With a swing of the sword, spiritual energy surged, and the momentum was extremely powerful. This was definitely not the battle power of a level 1 fasting cultivator. Support battle skill. Greatly increases one's own combat power and reduces the enemy's combat power. Graceful feather, activated. Liu Ruo. He quickly dodged Zheng Little Fatty's slash, his face filled with surprise and doubt. However, at this moment, she could not afford to think too much. Liu Ruo. A fierce light flashed in his eyes, and his originally thin white fingers suddenly turned into sharp claws. There was a thick baleful aura lingering around it. As soon as this baleful aura appeared, the surrounding temperature seemed to plummet. Zheng Little Fatty felt the blood and qi in his body churning, followed by a wave of coldness, as though the blood in his body was about to freeze. However, in the next moment, the sound of the zither rang out. Flashing golden runes appeared in front of Zheng Xiaopang. In the blink of an eye, he drew a soul-locking talisman in the air. As the evil energy rushed towards Zheng Little Fatty, the soul-locking talisman in the air emitted a dazzling light, and started to burn. In the blink of an eye, the baleful aura that was so thick it seemed as if it wanted to devour Zheng Little Fatty disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, Zheng Little Fatty didn't feel cold at all. Instead, he felt refreshed, and his eyes were bright. Without a pen or paper, he created a talisman in the air. Mutual affinity, level 2 skill activated. Liu Ruo. Looking at the scene before him, his face paled. His frightened eyes keep looking at Jun Muyan, who is not far away. Before this, it wasn't that she hadn't heard of auxiliary musicians, but in this world, where could there be a musician like Jun Muyan, who could allow a weakling at the first level of Anidia to have the ability to fight against a cultivator at the peak of Jindan stage? No. This was impossible. She would never believe it. He wouldn't even be able to beat Zheng Jiabao, that trash. Liu Ruo. His expression turned ferocious, and he suddenly leaped into the air, ruthlessly slamming his palm toward Zheng Jiabao's head. Zheng Jiabao thrust his sword towards the sky. Chapter 1658. Boom. There's a loud noise as the two forces collide. Liu Ruo. Before she could rejoice, she suddenly feels a pain in her palm, followed by a huge force that heavily hits her chest, causing her to scream and fly out. After a long while, she awkwardly climbs up from the ground and sees that Zheng Jiabao's whole body is surrounded by a faint layer of light. This layer of light is like a protective cover, protecting Zheng Jiabao inside, making her unable to hit, unable to touch, and can only passively take a beating. Using musical notes to weave a protective cover, after being upgraded to the 3rd level, the protective cover has the ability to reflect damage. The lower the cultivation, the stronger the attack, the greater the reflected damage. Divine Hand weaves the sky, activates. Liu Ruo. Her body keeps twitching, the surging pain in her body and the taste of blood in her mouth are telling her. She, Liu Ruo, lost to Zheng Jiabao, who is at the 1st level of abstinence. No. She is a gold core stage cultivator. How could she lose to a waste at the abstinence stage? It's Muyan. All of this is Muyan's doing. She wants to use this method to humiliate herself. Liu Ruo. Her eyes are filled with madness. She suddenly throws herself at Muyan. Slut, slut, I'm going to kill you. As long as I kill you, I will be the darling of heaven. Everything in this world will be mine. Muyan looks at Liu Ruo, who is throwing herself at her. She smiles. Her slender jade-like fingers gently pluck the strings. In the next second, an invisible thread twines around Liu Ruo. She was just about to pounce over when she suddenly stopped in mid-air. Using music to control the trajectory of the enemy's movements, making the enemy unable to move within a small range. At this stage, it can only control people with weak minds and chaotic spiritual power. Prison Drawing activates. Almost at the same time, the sound of the zither suddenly changes. The melodious music suddenly turned into the roar of war drums that resembled the sound of armored horses and spears. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of sword auras turn into light and shadow, ruthlessly penetrating Liu Ruo. Unable to move her body. Ah. Liu Ruo lets out a mournful scream, blood splatters all over her body, penetrated into a sieve. Sound blade, 10,000 arrows shoot at once. Liu Ruo, who is like a mass of flesh and blood. He fell heavily to the ground, his body still twitching. The murderous aura swirled around her wounds and healed them from time to time. However, the damage caused by the hundreds of sound blades was too great. In a short period of time, when the murderous aura healed one wound, another wound would immediately bleed. Liu Ruo. His eyes widened and his lips trembled. Suddenly, he murmured hoarsely, "Divine. Musician. I remember now." In Mai Xin's memories, it has the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Just one Tian Mo Qin can subvert the 3 realms. Jun Muyan, you're a Shen musician. You're a demon that everyone in the world wants to punish. You're a demon. Muyan slowly stands up and walks over to Liu Ruochen. In front of him, There was not the slightest trace of fear on the beautiful face, only a faint smile of mockery. Aya, you actually recognized me. You, Liu Ruo. Letting out a shrill howl, I want to tell the world of your identity. Jun Muyan, I want you to be on the winning and losing list, and die a horrible death. Before she could finish yelling, she heard little Fatty Zheng's faint voice in her ear. That's if you can say it out loud. Chapter 1659. Ah! Liu Ruo! She screamed in terror, and tears gushed out of her eyes. She looked at Zheng Little Fatty with pleading eyes. Zheng Little Fatty coldly laughed. At that time, didn't Xin Yu also beg you like this? Did you let her go? He waved the knife in his hand. A cold light flashed and blood splattered. However, the one he cut down was not Liu Ruo. Not her tongue, but her ear. Zheng Little Fatty stuffed his ear into her mouth and forced her to chew and swallow it. At Liu Ruo, amidst her cries and pleas, Zheng Little Fatty cut off the tendons in her arms and legs one by one, crushing her dantian. He even chopped off her hands and feet and smeared honey with spiritual energy on her wounds. Due to summer bugs' language of ice and myriad plants chirping, the insects and demonic plants that had gathered here immediately smelled the spiritual energy and rushed over to eat Liu Ruoxiang. My body. Heart-wrenching screams came from Liu Ruoxiang again and again. From his mouth. In the beginning, she cursed and screamed. Then, she wailed and begged for mercy. In the end, she even wanted to die. Little Fatty Zheng only asked her again and again, did Xin Yu beg you like this before? Did you let her go? Kill me, I beg you, please kill me. I know I'm in the wrong, I've let Xin Yu down. I'm willing to pay with my life. Zheng Little Fatty pulled out her tongue and cut it off. Liu Ruo. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and he finally let out a cry for mercy. Zheng Little Fatty stared blankly at Liu Ruoxiang, who had been tortured by him to the point that she no longer resembled a human. She could no longer hold back her tears. Xin Yu. Even if I kill you, even if I take revenge 10 times or 100 times more, my Xin Yu will never be able to return. Woo. Can you return my Xin Yu back to me? After crying for a long time, Zheng Little Fatty raised the dagger in his hand and was about to stab Liu Ruoxiang. My heart. However, before he could move, he was stopped by Mu Yang. You can't kill her like this. Zheng Little Fatty stares blankly as he raises his head to look at Mu Yan. Mu Yang sneers at Liu Ruoxiang. Her soul has fused with a devil cultivator at the tribulation stage. Even if you completely destroy her body, her soul can still be stored in her bones, waiting for her next resurrection. Besides, her karmic luck hasn't been exhausted yet. If you kill her, you'll suffer a backlash instead. A look of disbelief appeared on Zheng Xiaopeng's face. So, the reason she begged me to kill her wasn't because she wanted to repent, or to atone for her sins. He abruptly turned to look at Liu Ruoxiang. Only Liu Ruo? After hearing Mu Yan's words, he finally revealed a look of horror and despair. The hatred in Zheng Little Fatty's heart was like boiling lava, wanting to burn away his rationality. God ye. With a putong sound, he knelt in front of Mu Yang as he cried bitterly, Godji, I beg you to take revenge for Xin Yu. As long as this woman gets her retribution, I am willing to be your slave in my next life, doing anything for you. I will never regret this. Saying that, he directly pointed to the heavens and swore to the heavenly Tao that he would be loyal to Mu Yang for all eternity. If there was any betrayal, he would be punished by the heavens and destroyed by the earth, dying a horrible death. For a true cultivator, the oath they made to the heavenly Tao will come true. In other words, from this moment on, Zheng Jiabao had already recognized Mu Yang as his master, and could never betray her for all eternity. Chapter 1660. Firstly, her identity as a Shen musician really can't be leaked out, not even the slightest mistake. Secondly, Zheng Little Fatty has now completely collapsed because of Jiang Xinyu's death. Only Jiang Sinu's vengeance is hanging on to him. Once this life-saving straw disappears, Mu Yang is very afraid that he will collapse. Now, this vow of allegiance may become a shackle on his body, so that he won't abandon himself to despair. Mu Yang gently pats Zheng Little Fatty's shoulder, and walks over to Liu Ruochen. She walks over to Liu Ruo and looks down at her, slowly revealing a smile. Liu Ruo? Since you know about Shun musicians, then do you know that Shun musicians have a skill called floating like a dream? Do you know what kind of interesting experience it is in the nightmare dream of floating like a dream? It's a dream, but it's not a dream. It's just a short quarter of an hour of zither music, but it can make your soul experience thousands of years of hellish torment. In that nightmare world, you may be a low-level vicious beast, hiding from the pursuit of cultivators, enduring the law of the jungle, and finally becoming a bowl of delicious food on someone else's plate. You may also be an ugly peasant woman without spiritual power, toiling all day, exposed to the wind and the sun, beaten by your husband, abandoned by your children, and finally dying of depression. Liu Ruo, what kind of life do you want to experience? I can weave it for you in floating like a dream. When you wake up, you will find that only a few days and nights have passed, but your hair has already turned white, your face is full of wrinkles, and your teeth have fallen out. The aging of the soul is truly irreversible. How long do you think it will take for me to grind away your so-called luck, your soul, and your murderous aura bit by bit? Jun Muyan's sweet-sounding voice is clearly transmitted to Liu Ruo. It's like ants gnawing at her spirit, which is already on the verge of collapse. Boo-hoo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo. Sparkling and translucent tears of blood flow from her eyes. That's true remorse, fear, and despair. However, it's all too late. Mu Yang slowly sits down beside her, a grim smile on her pale face. Liu Ruo? I originally didn't want to bother with you, but you kept bumping into me. Now, he had taken innocent lives one after another. Bullshit-favored child of the heavenly Tao. Do you really think that no one in this world can do anything to you? Liu Ruo? Woo 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 woo. Hehe, you want to beg for mercy now? Too late. Her slender fingers gently plucked the strings, and melodious music surrounded them. She began to slowly use the musical notes to create bizarre and dazzling dreams. However, this time, it was not a beautiful dream, but a hellish nightmare. Liu Ruo, are you ready to welcome your first nightmare? Under the school of the Emperor Star. Diu Dao was just about to make his move when he heard a violent commotion coming from the entrance. Then, there were a few loud bangs. Before Diu Dao could react, a large group of people had already rushed in from outside. Diu Dao's expression changed drastically when he saw the people rushing in. Xing Danqing was in the lead, while Meng Baichuan and the other branch deans followed behind. When they came in and saw the scene in front of them, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1661. The people possessed by the Changjiao beast souls were different from Su Zi. They had consumed the beast soul elixir for too long, and their souls had been completely devoured by the Changjiao beast souls. Now that the Changjiao in their bodies had been eaten by the fat rabbit and the evil warding sword, all that was left was a corpse. However, without the effects of the Changjiao beast souls, their appearances returned to normal, so they were immediately recognized. The college chiefs of the other schools also recognized their students. Although most of them were from the outer sect, they were still their subordinates. They were both shocked and angry. Who killed our students? Behind the crowd, Chu Moli, who was sitting in a wheelchair, was slowly pushed forward by Ling Yusheng. The corners of Chu Moli's mouth hooked into a faint smile. The entrance to the secret passage was discovered in Dean Zhai's study. Shouldn't you be asking Dean Zhai about this? Xing Danqing had already rushed to Su Zi's side. After confirming that he was only unconscious and not in danger, she heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing this, she immediately glared at Diu Dao and said, "College Chief Zhai, shouldn't you give us an explanation for this? As the college chief of the Starry School, how could you do such a crazy thing underground?" Diu Dao's face turned green and white. His gaze swept across the people of the Alcade school, extremely gloomy. Just now, after sending Shu Iluan to investigate, he suddenly felt the jade pendant he wore become hot. Di Yudao knew all too well what this jade pendant represented. It was a secret that he had hidden with all his might. It was something that he could not let anyone find out. Di Yudao was scared out of his wits. Without even bothering to find an excuse, he hurried back to the school of the Emperor Star. However, by the time he arrived, the thing that he had hidden away had already disappeared without a trace. There was even the aura of the demon race around the house. At this moment, there was nothing that Di Yudao did not know. Shu Iluan had betrayed him. No, it should be said that Shu Iluan had evil intentions from the start when he appeared beside him. Di Yudao gritted his teeth in hatred. He swore to destroy Shu Iluan's soul. Moreover, he had already guessed what Shu Iluan wanted to do. This was something that he could not allow to happen. However, before he could give chase, he heard a sound coming from underground. The heavenly life serpent was his last hope. No matter what, he couldn't give up. This time, he didn't even have time to care about Shu Iluan. He brought his trusted subordinates and hurried to the underground. He didn't even have the time to set up the defensive array glyphs. Unexpectedly, before he could make a move, Xing Danqing, Meng Baichuan, and the others barged in. He didn't even have time to hide. Di Yudao took a few deep breaths before he said with a straight face, "I also just discovered that there is such a mechanism in my study. What kind of place is this? Why are you here?" He pointed at Yun Ruohan and the others and said harshly, "Are you guys colluding with the demonic creatures and purposely causing trouble in the Starry School? Men, capture them for me. Ha ha ha. Dean Zhai's ability to play the blame game is truly superb. I can't help but admire him." Luo Yu sneered. However, when Dean Zhai rushed down and yelled at us to kill us, he didn't say that. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.